Headed into the Lewis Automotive Group hotline at Talk Now on a Monday morning with Pig Trail Nation's Mike Irwin. Good morning, Mike. Happy Monday. How you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you?
Doing good. Doing real good. 51-9. Make some sense of what we just watched this last weekend. Is Arkansas truly the number one team, do you think? I know the polls say it, but from what you've seen.
I mean, it'd be hard to argue against it. I mean, and you could look ahead and say the best SEC teams on their schedule are still in front of them. You know, you got to go play Georgia. You got Texas coming in here at one point. You don't know about A&M. I don't know if they've revived themselves or not, but that kind of sits there. You know, you're looking at them and going, "Whoa, what is that?" And LSU is out there, but it's hard to argue against what they're doing at the plate. They lead the SEC in hitting, 335 team average. And if that number were to hold up, it would rank second all-time at Arkansas behind the 97 Razorbacks. So that's pretty impressive. Averaging 2.1 home runs a game, that's way above the record of 1.44 set in 2010. So we'll see how that goes. It will be interesting, again, to see how Arkansas's hitters match up with Texas pitching. That game's coming up on May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and that's going to be huge, guys. That's the first time Arkansas and Texas have played in a conference series since Arkansas left the Southwest Conference, and I think they played May 2nd and 3rd of 1991 at Old George Cole Field, and Texas took 2 of 3 from Arkansas in that series, so there'll be some revenge wanted at that game, and I mean, you won't be able to find a ticket for that series.
You know, there's two ways to look at the series this past week, and it's that the Hogs didn't play perfect. There were a couple of errors, mistakes, you could say. I was impressed with the way the guys pitched, considering it wasn't the most comfortable weekend for pitching. But I also think that there's another aspect to the series there, and it's the other team that they played. And Mike, look, there's losing a series, there's playing poorly, there's being a bad team, and then there's maybe being historically bad. And Mizzou did everything they possibly could to help Arkansas out in the field, on the mound, and I say this not half jokingly. Watching them, I know baseball, you never know. That's a team that could go 0-30.
Yeah, and there are people that are already saying it may be the second worst team Arkansas has played all year. I mean, even with the midweek teams they've played and some of those weekend series they had earlier in the year. But yeah, they don't have any pitching, that's for sure. They hit the ball decently. They're not at the bottom of the league in hitting, but their pitching is just horrible. And you just keep seeing guy after guy come up, and he's walking people and he's hitting somebody, and then you load the bases, and then there's a grand slam, or there's runners on second and third, and you're driving 2 in, and it just goes on and on and on. It was just marathon watching, and it's interesting because they did all that in front of virtually nobody. Those 3 games were not well attended at all because of the awful weather, and it didn't seem to affect Arkansas. They were pumped up. They just kept coming after those guys. You know, at some point you could just sit down and go, well, come on, we've already got this game won. We don't have to continue to score, but they just did, you know. They just kept it up.
Hey, Mike, it was a great Saturday for college basketball. I guess we'll start with the Duke-Houston game first, Mike. Did Duke collapse, or did Houston go out there and win it? How did you kind of take those last 2 minutes of that ball game?
Well, it was a little bit of both, but when people complain about what Arkansas did against Texas Tech, how about the best team in college basketball? Because that's what Duke is. They got the best talent. They were the best team. I've told people for years that the thing that makes the NCAA basketball tournament interesting is that very often the best team in the country does not win it because so many different things can happen. And they just started missing shots. Some of it was good defense, but some of them just sometimes shots don't go down. And certain things happen, and then you end up losing a game that you basically led for about 95% of the clock time. So I enjoyed it. I wasn't pulling for Duke, but because I like upsets. But it was still hard for me to believe that it happened when it happened. And now, once again, we're going to sit here and watch a national championship game. And for me, I'm going to be thinking the best team's not in this game.
Well, styles make fights. Let's be honest. Styles make fights. This is a defensive juggernaut versus an offensive juggernaut. Who do you got tonight?
Oh, a lot of it depends on what that game took out of Houston. Are they refreshed? Are they full of energy? Or did they do everything they give? Or did they give everything they had to beat that team? I'm still going to go with Florida. They're inconsistent, but I think that game clears that loss by Duke, clears it for them to win it all. And if Houston wins it, I won't be surprised, but I'm going to go with Florida. That's who I picked in the beginning. I changed my mind as I watched the way Duke played in the tournament, which they were just dominating everybody. And I still can't believe they lost.
So you haven't had like major upsets that people remember or anything. And I don't think you can say there's an upset based upon what the betting line is, but when there's 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four, there are no upsets anymore. But what there were really high level games. Those were really good basketball. Not all the Elite 8 games were great, but some of them were. And then the Final Four has been outstanding. And you just imagine tonight's game. I mean, I think it's a pick'em. It's so close. I don't know which way to go here. And you don't always feel that way going into a championship game or any of the Final Four games. So what you got here without the Cinderella or an upset was just 2 memorable, really well played, exciting, tight basketball games.
When you've got a roster of players, and I don't care what sport you're talking about, when they go into a big game like this, you don't know, they don't know, the coaches don't know until the game starts if they're hitting on all cylinders. Sometimes you're not. And it starts to spread, and then you're going, what's happening here? What's wrong there? Could happen to one of these 2 teams. Or they could just go back and forth, and I'm hoping it'll be a good game. There's nothing any worse than getting this far into it and having it be a blowout. And I don't think it will be. But one team could just be clicking in ways that the other one isn't, or maybe in a critical situation. It's just such an unpredictable thing, the way this happens, and that's based on I've watched this tournament since I was a little kid, At least they didn't have it when I was little the way it is now with as many teams. But I certainly remember back in college when they finally started expanding the field and how, you just sat each week and got excited. And you gotta win 6 games to win this thing. And when Arkansas did it, each one of those games sort of contained its own drama. They were each different. But how you get to and look at the 95 team. They returned everybody, and they almost got knocked out in the round of 64 and the round of 32, and then got all the way in there, beat a really good team in the semifinals, and then just came up blank against UCLA.
Mike, you think Boogie stays? I know you can't get into his mind. You think Boogie stays in the NBA draft? Do you think any other guys, take the jump, or do you think there's a chance that he doesn't like what he hears and he comes back and plays, or like Phil said, maybe he goes and plays somewhere else?
Yeah, all of this is speculation, but people are going nuts over the lack of information about Arkansas right now. Just based on what I hear, and I'm not an expert, I think he is gone. I think they're really trying to keep Thiero, and I think that may be part of the holdup here because they may be planning to give him more money than they counted on to get him to stay. And if they do, it could affect other players, whether somebody goes that would have stayed or whether you don't have the money to bring in that, top 3 finesse forward or whatever you want to call him that, is looking at Duke and Arkansas. There's just all this stuff out there. I just saw one today. Everybody has these websites, and they claim to be experts. And I saw one that said, Pringle, the South Carolina defensive center that gave Arkansas so much trouble, he's a pretty good offensive player, too, that they predict he's coming to Arkansas. A lot of people feel like Florida State's center in the transfer portal is coming here, that Cal wants two bigs. One more defensive-oriented, one offensive-oriented, but that he really wants Thiero. and he thinks he can return. I mean, he spent all of this year talking about, if you look in the SEC, the teams that were doing well in the SEC were teams that returned players from the year before and sometimes 2 years before. That is the key to maintaining consistency. So clearly that's important to him. And that's why I think you will see very few portal transfers, maybe two at the most, and a real effort to keep the guys they've got. But I think Fland is gone.
Yeah, that's how I've understood how I feel this next team is going to be put together too. I really just think there's going to be 2, maybe 3 transfers coming in and it's exactly what you had just said. I think they want Adu to stay and will do what they can to see that happens. And then look, it's not 8 freshmen coming in and getting all the minutes, but it certainly is 4, and it very well could be 5, and they're coming, and who knows if they're part of the, I guess, rotation very early, but my guess is Acuff is, Sealy is, Thomas is, and if Amen shows up here, he is too. So this is not going to be a team that's put together through the transfer portal, much like it was this last year. Who knows what happens in the future after that, but I think Cal's not going to make all freshman teams, but he's still going to get talented freshmen, and sometimes 4 or 5.
Yeah, I had a question on Ask Mike. Would you rather keep Brazil? And I think they are keeping Brazil, but what's the difference between him and Ament? And Courtney of our staff, she just is adamant about that. This kid is talented. He's got to play. He's not. You don't just take him. He's got to play. But I'm sitting here thinking, I've always said this, that Brazil has more upside, untapped upside, than any college basketball player I know. I still don't think we've seen what he can really do. And if Cal can tap into that, and you had 2 guys like that along with other bigs, I mean, I don't know. You got people picking Final Four, predicting Final Four, at least Elite 8. You can never tell what happens, but you can get drunk, sitting around slobbering over all the possibilities, and then at the last minute you find out that it doesn't all happen that way.
BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, and college basketball to NHL and UFC. Head to BetOnline today and don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here.